think it's not humid around here. Look at those windows. Not that they're quality windows. Look at the doorknob in the lock. And it's like 76 degrees in there. But we're holding steady at 40% humidity inside here. Well, hey there folks, it's Barry's Best Honey. I'm Mike and I do bees. Welcome back to Southeast Louisiana and to my little shop here where I'm going to extract some honey. It is that time. We got the honey supers in. There's 17 full ones in a parcel deep, which makes about 18. Left a bunch out there. Just going to have to do it in increments, and that's what we're going to do today. We are going to get a shot at trying out this HillCo UltraMax. Is that the right one? I can't remember the models. It's the 18 frame. Y'all saw it in my video. I'm excited to use it. But we're going to check this thing out, see how it does with honey. We're going to see how it does without being fastened to the floor. And we'll get all these extracted and go get more off. So let's get started. Let's see what we can figure out with this HillCo. Let me get my honey house set up. I gotta get my tank set up. I do like my Maxent tank. I love this thing. This has been a really nice addition a couple years ago. It rolls around. I'm gonna get this thing rigged up. I just rinsed it and washed it. Still a little wax residue, but I like it because I can load up frames, and then while I'm spinning, I can keep loading more and we can keep going. Gotta rig it up and have it ready to go. I like it right here in this spot because now when I lean my frame up here, I can lean it forward, it all falls down in here, boom, drains. This tank, when you stack those frames in there and those cappings, I'm telling you, you can, if you let it sit for a couple days, you will get 5 to 10 gallons stacked up in this tank before you know it. This thing will make a bucket easy. Now I'll show you how I do my capping drains and what I do because I don't have a wax separator. I'd love to have one, but the cost doesn't justify what I'll get out of it for me and in my operation. So I've learned to really manage this wax cappings tank effectively enough to get a lot of honey out of it. So I got my extractor, and one thing I thought about was, wow, I've got these strainers that tend to be a choke point, and that's these double ones. Y'all seen them? But I said, you know what? That choke point could hurt me now that I got 18 frames. If it's a choke point on a 6 frame, all of a sudden I got the gears turning, and it takes my gears a little while to get going, but they got going finally, and I thought, there's gonna be a lot of honey coming out of that thing. This thing is gonna have to be watched carefully. So I asked my buddy Kenny. And Kenny, he's got a 20 frame Maxent. What my buddy Kenny does, he's got about 15 or so of these, 600 microns, and he just keeps rotating buckets in and out. And I thought, that's good, so I'll get a couple extra. I already had one or two. I said, I'll get a couple extra of those. And that afternoon, John Hill from HillCo Bees came out with a video. So he showed this tank, and we'll be, and that day, I was literally just thinking about that. I was like, wow, perfect timing. I looked at this tank, I'm thinking this would be cool. It's got these strainers. It's got a fine one, a coarse one, and you dump your honey in this side. It's got a gate valve that spins right in here. It's a 5-gallon bucket, basically made of stainless steel, and it strains for you. I don't know how it's gonna work. I'm gonna see how it works. But I know this. I can dump a quick 5 gallons there and set it to the side, let everything kind of settle, let stuff float to the top, and I can pour it right out. I don't have to drain it all the way down. I'm thinking I could drain it about here and throw another batch in there. At the same time, rotating out my strainers. We're gonna see how it works. I like it, what it looks like. Let's see what it does. It's like, I love the looks of that extractor, but we ain't ran it yet. Inside note though, everybody I've talked to that has ran it has had good success. Let's see what Barry's Best Honey has, because I always do things different and I just mess things up a lot of times. So we'll see. Alright folks, I'm uncapping already. I don't turn the camera on when I first start uncapping. I gotta get into a rhythm. You know how it is, guys, when you haven't done it in a while, so I had to get my rhythm going. First thing you're gonna see is I use a cold knife, which I've shown you this before. I have tried a hot knife. Actually, I have tried the Pierce. It was not for me. And not saying anything about Pierce, it works for so many people. It's worked for a lot of years. The original manufacturer of the hot knife. It just didn't work for me. I'm so used to the cold knife, I'm pretty quick with it. I can't even use one of those cold knives that's offset with the handle, and like the hot knife, I can't even use a cold knife that's offset like that. I gotta use my little red knife. It just works for me. It's, you know, you find what works for you and you get in that rhythm and you can do it. So yeah, the Pierce didn't work for me. It's a beautiful knife, beautiful handmade knife, but it just wasn't for me. So I've already started uncapping, as you can see, and I'm going to go ahead and run it. I'm going to get an 18 in here. That's 2 boxes. And I'll talk a little bit about how I uncap and what I'm doing and how I get that to drain better. Because I want to talk about fat frames. You know how I call them, PHAT. Somebody told me I was too old to say that. PHAT, fat frames. 9 frame boxes. Majority of everything I run is 9 frame. And when it comes to uncapping, they're so much easier. And those boxes, you can feel a significant weight difference when you pick a 9 frame up versus a 10 frame. So I do believe there's more honey. I'll show you what's going on with this uncapping tank in a minute. Let's get some stuff in the extractor. I'm going to finish uncapping 3 more, and then we'll get them loaded and see what happens. So this one's kind of thin, actually. This one didn't build way out. You can tell it's cold the way the cappings are breaking up. But that's all right. Gives me confidence that it's at least drier. Plus, there's still some early spring honey left, because remember, we didn't extract a lot of that. And you can tell the difference. I'll hit one that you can tell is all tallow, and this thing, will, even when it's cold, will glide right through. I hit those thick ones, and I can tell that's early spring honey. 9 frame boxes. Well, I tell you, I started on those the 3rd year I was beekeeping, and I haven't turned back. My voice is really squeaking. But I haven't turned back off of them because they really do a nice job. And one of the main reasons is really for uncapping. It's just, it's easier to uncap. And so, see that big old slab coming off? I got a question the other day from a buddy who watches our channel. He'll probably be commenting on here. And he was asking about not cutting it right directly to the frame. Well, you can do that. It just takes a lot more time. There's nothing wrong with doing it. Anybody can do this easy. Here's one, for example. So we look at this one, and it's way away from the frame. And he was talking about just cutting the caps. You can absolutely do that. It's kind of disheartening sometimes to see it all go in there, but this tank drains better than you would think. So yeah, I could come out off of it, but see, now I've got to work it. It's a little slower. I got to take my time. And I've only got 17 full supers anyway, but that takes a lot of time to really get it, you know, can you see me? To get it just the caps off. And I did that a little bit when I first started with 9 frames, but then I realized just cut it. The bees are going to build it out. I'm still saving plenty of comb for them to draw on. And there's a lot more there, but they can draw on that just as easy right here. So it's mainly for an uncapping deal. It just makes it easy to run down the frame, because see, now I take this one, instead of doing that little piece of propolis, I can just take it right down the frame with my guide, and I can go much faster when I don't slip off like that. Another thing that I noticed too is you got to be careful with, if you're going to uncap just the top caps, you got to do them all like that on 9 frames, because what I found will happen is now you'll throw your extractor out of balance. You'd be surprised, that little slab that you save, that's a lot of honey left in that frame. You put that with a bunch of, say, thinner ones, you already got a problem with frames not being the same. Well, then when you on purpose make them not the same, it can be a problem. So I found if I'm going to do one, I got to do them all like that. Well, that's going to take too long. So that's kind of why I don't do it. But by all means, you can cut just the caps off. You'll get more honey through your extractor. But I'll show you in a little while what I do with this, and this strains good. I used to sweat it going, oh my gosh, that's a lot of honey. But then what I realized was, really, I get the majority out of the wax. So it's not a big deal. Let's load this extractor. I'm excited about this. The moment of truth. First thing I want to check on this HillCo is how easy is it to load? Well, that was easy. And you may say, what are you talking about, Mike? How hard is it to load an extractor? You'd be surprised. Make sure I'm loading it right here. Yeah, that goes there. Yeah, okay. Sometimes, like my Maxit, you've got to turn it first of all with the motor. Now the new Maxit doesn't do that. They've changed the motors. But it's got a real tight clearance to get the frames in. So, and look, I know that over at Mr. Ed's, we load his 48 frame. It's a little tricky sometimes. Getting them all to set right. This 18 frame so far on this nylon, got to get used to scooching the bottom of the frame back, it looks like, but it loads easy. All right, last frame in. That's it, guys. I think I got it. All right, we're going to open Honey Gate. I always have that open. And let's see what it does. Starts up smooth. Seems happy. We're going to go slow and start getting it out. That's the problem. Another thing with cool honey, when I don't have it nice and warm, what I like to do when mine's out of balance when it's warm is go real slow, and a lot of honey will actually just start kind of coming out, and then you can speed it up a little faster. It may take a while with this, just to make sure my balance is right. I'm speeding it up now. She's got a little wobble to her. Okay, we'll just leave it. I like to get it right to where the wobble is still manageable, but on the edge of chaos, and then stop and let it. I see honey coming out, so oh, that thing is quiet. Wow, that is quiet. It's wobbling, but what I'm gonna do is let it sling some honey out and get some of that unbalance out of there, and then we'll go. All right, so it's wobbling, but it's happy. All right, we got honey dripping. We got honey dripping. Look at that, look at that. Yeah, that's some thick stuff. Listen to it. All right, it's not bolted down. I'm pushing it. Guys, I'm pushing it. You can tell that honey's thick. There it goes, there it goes. How excited do I sound? Wow. It just got super quiet. Once that load comes off of it. Smooth it is now that we've gotten the initial frames, everything's kind of out, maybe the thicker frames is slung. Look, it's not moving a bit, and I'm gonna leave it at that speed because I don't know if I can keep up with the honey. That's all right, I'm gonna get that bucket contraption here in a second. She's full. Let's shut that. Hurry up, though. I don't wanna. Alright, we're good. So definitely a bottleneck on that. This 5-gallon deal is going to come in handy because while I should be knifing out some more frames, but I'm not because I'm playing with my new extractor. And I'm doing a review. This is official. Alright, we're sped up now. We're not at full speed, but hum. It's got a little noise once you get up to this speed in the gearbox. Nothing major though. You can hear yourself think I could play music if I wasn't doing a YouTube video. You know, copyright and all. So far, look what I've got in here now. Once this reaches about 1 inch above that gate valve, that'll be 5 gallons. Don't look like it, I know, but trust me, it is. And yeah, those are some fat combs coming off, I agree, but I'll pulverize these in a little bit with my knife. As it gets high, I'll start pulverizing it, and after a couple days you'll be blown away at how much will actually drain out of that wax. The first, all the way up to about 1 inch, will be all pretty dry. Like, there'll still be honey in it, but it won't be so sticky you can't touch it. But it'll be pretty dry and fluffy. So far, so good, guys. Here's a box of brand new frames drawn out this year. Got a number 2 on them for 2022. There's your 10 frames. See how they don't cut as well? Of course, this is the outside frame, so it's got a little fat on the outside. But see, I just like to run it right down that board like that. To me, that's just makes it easy. Well, scratch the rest off. I like to get all this wax out as much as I can. The question on everybody's mind might be, what did it leave in the back? It did leave some honey in the back. How much did it leave? Not a lot. It's a small film. I'd say maybe 1/8 of an inch at the most. Might be to do with the fact that my honey is so thick because it's still dripping. Still coming out. Yep. And our drain down there is draining just fine. So it's drained very, very well. There is some honey left. Not a lot. Not as much as I've seen. Again, not to compare apples and oranges, but the conical design of my old one it leaves about 1.5 inches of honey without tipping it. So this is pretty good. I'm very excited about this. I think it's mainly because it's thick right now. It is some thick honey being in this cold room. This tank, it does pretty cool. I like it. It is a bottling. It's considered a bottling tank. You know, a cold bottling tank. So it does take a while to get through the screens, just like these do. Yes, I like this because this is a quick, oh my goodness, my extractor is filling up too fast. Oops. It comes, and see what I'm seeing is mostly air bubbles, but there might be a particulate here and there coming through there, but that's pretty clear. Yeah, a lot of air. It'll hold 5 gallons, so when I'm in a jam, I'm gonna stick it up under that thing every time. So far, this thing is fabulous. Let's run another run through it and see what happens. I let this thing run just to let it run a while ago. I let it run for 20-25 minutes. Empty frames from full all the way to empty and just let it run. There was hardly anything dripping out. This motor stayed ice cold. So yes, that is a fact. Didn't even break a sweat. All right, doing good guys. I'm happy. I'm happy. So one other thing I do want to show, I said I'd show, I take these cappings and I chop them up like this. One thing it does, it flattens them out against the screen, and it also chops it up where all this honey gets loose. Watch, there'll be a puddle of honey on this when I'm done. You can already see where some of it from early on is drained out. But watch, we'll drain this. Some of it's dry, like down in here. It's already dry because it drains through. I'll take this thing and chop it all up like this. I know there was a bunch of fat combs cut through here. And you know, you go, oh wow, look at all that's going. It's all going to drain out. I should say, I bet 95% drains out this wax. It's amazing how it comes out of this wax. So I take my knife and I pulverize it. We've already got close to 5 gallons in here. That's probably about 3 gallons. Another 1/2 inch on the tank, and we'll have 5 gallons. So when you decide to drain your uncapping tank into your strainer like I did, don't forget when you go back to uncapping to go check your valves, because it can make a mess. So we've had a little mishap we got to clean up. There's a pound of honey wasted. Profits on the floor. I want you to hear this when it's fully loaded, how quiet it is. A little much wobble, but I mean, it's quiet. That is quiet. Once that wobble comes out, I can speed it right on up. So I didn't have to bolt the legs down. I'm happy about that. It's performing well. It's performing well. Yeah, nice unit, guys. Really nice unit. One note of interest on this is this gate. It's a good gate. I was wondering about it. I had never seen one like this. It works really well. Seals off really well. But I was wondering how I'd like it. I like it pretty well. It's just different. I hadn't seen one like that before. That's a lot of honey in that wax. It's like a big slurry. So when I make it a slurry, I'll let this sit a couple days, but it'll dry right out, and then this tank will be full. Alright, so I have 3 deeps and 3 mediums left, and I put them in the center of each carousel. Let me stop it and show you what I did. So each section holds 6, so I put deep, medium on each side. As far as the 3 deeps weigh about the same as each other, and the 3 mediums do. So let's see how well it balances. I started it slow. This thing is run really good, as far as it's been real easy to balance, and it's not bolted down. It's running like there's nothing in there. Little wobble and that's it. And I'm about, I'm not quite halfway. No, I'm halfway up to speed. I'm at number 5 and it goes to 10. So that thing is balanced really well. See, I'm halfway. Once it gets some of it out, I'll spin it all the way up and we'll clean them out. All right, here's the final product. You can see it's just full of honey, all this wax. It's all pulverized and chopped up. I'm going to drain this tank out. I'm going to drain it all the way out. Then we'll let this drain for about 2 days, and I'll come back and show you what it does by just letting it drain just like this. You think it's not going to drain, but it will. Now I have to come chop it up a little bit because there's a lot in here, but I'll come in a day and chop it all up, and then we'll let it drain some more. Smells like honey in here. So let's take a look in the uncapping tank. I hadn't looked at it yet. I want to show you what I'm talking about yesterday, about how this wax will drain out so well. And it's a lot of wax. It may not all be done today. It usually takes 2 or so days. But let's look and see what's coming to the tank. I emptied this tank down to about that much across the gate valve. Like there was only about that much above the gate valve. Oops, sorry. And then we had to stop. But I'm going to show you what we got. Come across, look at that. Wow. So let's look. It's at least a bucket. At least a bucket. You can't even see the valve anymore, just barely the top of it. So it's about that much above the top of the honey gate. That tank is pretty much full. We had drained it down to where there was just a small strip of honey. You see how this wax, it was a big puddle. We dig through it. It's still pretty wet. But what I'll do, see how that's all, as we go on down, hadn't hit honey yet. Okay, starting to get a little wet now, so there's still more to drain. See, now it's starting to get wet. I'm 5 inches down in there, so something like that. So what we're going to do, I'm going to stir it up again. See, this out here is almost dry. We'll stir it all up. That's what I usually do, and leave it for another day. So let's review what we saw with this extractor. First and foremost, the honey harvest yielded just over 700 pounds. We got 300 pounds from the early spring, so we're right at around 1,000 pounds of honey right now. And the goal is usually around 12 to 1,500. Last year we pulled 1,800 pounds. So to meet last year's, we just need about 800 more pounds. there's still plenty of supers out there, so I think we'll get it. We'll get it, no problem. Which I don't really need 1,800. 1,500 would be a good ideal number. That'd be just about perfect. So, how did the extractor do? Well, it did fine. Y'all saw it. I showed you every step of the way. Things I love about it: quiet, smooth and quiet. Balance to a T. When you run it empty, it's balanced perfect. When you run it with frames, it's so easy to balance because it's already so true. This thing did not have to be bolted down. It didn't have to be in my case. So that was a plus for sure. Smooth and still and quiet. We started it at one point. My wife was working on some supers over there. She was on the other side of the supers, and ended up. I told her, I said, hey, I'm already spinning, and she didn't even realize that it was running. Now, it's a little noisier when it's empty, but when it's full and it starts off, that thing is quiet. So, yeah, that was neat. This gate valve, this honey gate, it's a little different to use. I love that it's stainless steel, but you can see I got a drop out of it. I didn't tighten it all the way down. That probably would have helped. The motor, cool, stayed cool the whole time. Ran this thing for a long time. This gearbox got slightly warm. This little electronics panel didn't get warm at all. Ran really well. No problems loading it. Loads really easy. This nylon, I didn't notice any kind of difference. Draining wise, there is some honey in the very, very back, but folks, it is about that much. Literally a spatula one time around would pull it out if you really wanted it. It is really literally about maybe 1/8 of an inch. So you can look in the back. There's a slight film of it back there. Like I say, about 1/8 of an inch to a 1/16. And then as it comes around, it gets a little thicker. Now there's a big pool of it here. It all drained to the front. It probably would have drained faster if I didn't have such cool honey. I don't know if y'all can see that with the light. I'm trying to show it to you, but it all drained to the front as advertised. Wonderful. Easy to run, simple to use. It stays steady. So let's talk about a couple things that they aren't showstoppers at all, and by no means would it sway me to say I wouldn't have bought this again. But a couple things I can say about this is these bolts right here for the lid, they can get you. You got to be careful with these. They can really get you. Sticking out a lot. They do have Teflon lock nuts on them, so maybe a shorter bolt to where you can just barely have a little bit sticking out. Those can get your fingers pretty good. Another thing is everything goes radial. Deeps and mediums all go radial. And the only thing I saw that when you do put the deeps in, they can be. I actually only did them from here. They hit right here. They don't hit hard, they just rub right here. They're pretty tight going in, but they fit fine and they just drop right down. Nothing that slows you down really. Other than that, this thing was a champ. It was a pleasure to use. It worked flawlessly. It made no crazy noises. It did nothing crazy. Everything functioned as it needed to. So that is it. There's your review for me from what I found with it. You know, I did only have one to compare it to, but I didn't want to make this a comparison because they're two different extractors. I like my little Maxent, but I outgrew it. As far as the honey harvest, we are not done. Again, I have plenty of supers out there still. I'm gonna try to do it in 2 more separate harvests. The harvest is bountiful. I praise the Lord for that. It's a great harvest. The tallow, look, we had no privet. The blackberry came in heavy. That's 300 pounds of that stuff. The tallow started slow, but it picked up strong while I was on vacation. So very grateful for all of that, and very happy that we were able to at least start getting it off the hives and in here and in the buckets. So that's probably gonna wrap it on up, folks. I mean, I think we got her done, and we're gonna get her done in the next few weeks. If you guys like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you don't mind, of course. I really, really appreciate all you guys' support. As I always say, it's Barry's Best Honey. I'm Mike, and I do bees. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and may God bless you. We'll see y'all later.